Hello and welcome back to Bookish Travels. As you can see, I am in a bit of a different background. I have flown all the way across the big pond to Canada. I do have a guest with me today and I'll introduce him in a minute. But what I'm doing here is, as you know, I've been reading the Sharpe novels very slowly, but I've been getting through them. So this is the perfect opportunity because I'm at a place called The Grange, which is the headquarters of Heritage Mississauga. Now, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, actually.
Absolutely. My name is Bert Jagoda. I work here at Heritage Mississauga and have for half of my life, about 14 years at this point. I work with a historical reenacting company based out of this building. That would be the 2nd Regiment York Militia. Our focus is the Napoleonic Wars, the War of 1812, and all its extended concepts. And I'm also the office gopher, so if you ever pop into the Grange, you'll see me flying the front desk or running up and down the stairs. There's really nothing I don't do there.
Well, if you're local, or if you're not local and you come, then this is a place you've got to visit. The reason I'm here is because, as you know, I've been reading and absolutely loving the Sharpe books, and this is a perfect place, and they've been very kind to me and let me record here, and we are going to go inside and look at some things because there's a lot of items in here that can relate to these books, which I think is absolutely fabulous. What I really like about these books is that Bernard Cornwell has a very good way of blending actual historical fiction in with his fictional characters, and I absolutely really love it. As you know, I've named myself a Tudor Queen, but I do find this era particularly fascinating as well, hence why I'm enjoying the books so much. So, without further ado, we have a rather lovely rifle here called a Baker rifle. Now, apparently, this is what Sharpe would have been using. So, I know nothing about it, so I'm going to pass it on to the expert.
Now, at the risk of overstating my qualifications in a field full of, well, very much nerds with strong opinions on things, and I count myself as one of them, I will say I have a good deal of familiarity with flintlocks and muzzle-loading weapons of the Napoleonic and pre-Napoleonic era, and this is one of the most iconic of that time period. This is a Baker rifle. This replica is a modern replica, of course. We're not handling an original, but it was spec'd or measured and built off of the originals. The Baker rifle is commonly introduced around 1804. The most popular pattern or production line was the 1809 version. And there's little variance between them, but I couldn't tell you every particular difference there. But this is the weapon of the 95th Rifles. This is very much what Sharpe and his chosen men would have carried into battle. It's the longest recorded kill in the Napoleonic Wars happened in the Peninsular Campaign where Sharpe was written into, and it occurred at a length of over 400 paces and was done from a seated position with one of these. It has a few features that make it different from most weapons of the era. For one, it's called a rifle, and that's because the inside of the barrel has grooves carved into it. That's called rifling, and it forms a little spiral. When you put a lead ball down here, which is what they would have been using, the grooves bite into it because the hard steel is biting into the soft lead, and that spins it a bit like an American football.
Okay.
And so that spin gives any projectile a bit more accuracy. It's still the dominant weapons technology of today to spin bullets. Your rifles. If it didn't have rifling, it would have gone by another name, like muskets, for example, or guns in the case of artillery or larger bore weapons. Unlike other weapons of the British Army of the day, it has, and I wonder if you can see this here, a flip sight. Now this is just a little piece of metal with a notch carved into the top that allows the shooter to check his target at various elevations across a distance. It also has a forward sight, which is very much like a modern rifle. And there's so much more I could get into here. The patch box, for example, a lovely piece of machine spring and brass work where you can keep your weapon maintenance tools, patches, and
I must admit, I lifted it up, and heavy. This is a heavy beast.
I mean,
Well, for me anyway.
It certainly had to be, because rifles were firing a much more snug projectile. That meant the gas pressure was higher, so the barrel itself is thicker. And this one is a full steel replica. The wood is rosewood. It could have been walnut in the period as well. All very dense, heavy woods. Two more things I'd like to point out before we move on from this is this rather interesting shape up here. And this would have been where the bayonet for the Baker rifle was attached. Now, if you look up images, and I'm sure we could drop one here afterwards for comparison of the Brown Bess or the musket's bayonet, it'll look a bit different from the Baker rifle's bayonet, and I wish we had a replica today, but it was a sword. It was about 1.5 feet long blade and a brass handle, and it looked like a little sword. And it was one, because even in the rifle's drill manual, instead of fixed bayonets, you know that famous command when it's time to get real dirty? Their command was fixed swords.
Yes.
Which I think is much cooler sounding. And the last thing I'd like to really cover here is just the basics of how on earth does this thing actually shoot. And it's a flintlock rifle, and flintlock was the dominant system of firearms for all major powers of the world of the Regency era, pre-Regency, and a little bit after. And the simple nature of it is you got your flint set in the cock here, that's this part, and you've got your steel, and this part's called the hammer. It's also called the frizzen. That's more of an American thing, but we use both terms. And just the act of flint striking steel creates sparks, and I'm sure you've seen it in the show or heard it described in books. You've had men tearing apart paper cartridges, and they pour gunpowder in there. They're doing that little fiddly bit that's filling this part of the pan with gunpowder, and they're shutting that pan, and they're putting the gunpowder down the barrel, because they're hoping that when they pull back on the cock, setting all the tension on the springs, they got their flint up there, when they pull the trigger, sparks come out. Sometimes they're lucky, sometimes they're not so lucky. There's a lot to be said for how you set the flint, what kind of rock you use, but you're hoping that those little sparks, shaved pieces of metal, hit that gunpowder and set it off, and that little explosion will hopefully get the big charge going.
So is that why it's important that they keep their powder dry?
Of course.
Because you always read or hear or whatever on the TV, it's like they do everything to keep that powder dry.
Well, if the powder isn't dry, it's not going to work, because it's a very crude chemical when you really think of it. It's charcoal, saltpeter, and sulfur. 3 ingredients. I mean, obviously, the science is a bit deeper than that, but it's a nasty smelling, brittle powder. If any bit of water gets onto that, it turns into a nasty smelling, slimy sludge.
Yeah, and it's not going to work.
It'll liquefy, you might form a lumpy cake out of that, and there's no way that a hot spark will set it off. I mean, maybe if you're touched by the golden hand of God in your pan, perhaps you might get a spark, but you're as good as dead. And it was literally their connection between life and the pearly gates, whether they kept their powder dry. So it was so important for them to do that.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to hand you this cartridge. It's filled with black powder, double F, if anyone's a nerd out there. This is exactly what the British Army standard would have been at the time. It can be ground finer, it can be ground less fine. For cannons, there look like big chunks of, I don't know, rock salt. That's how big it could get. For super fine shooting with a rifle, fast ignition, you could get a very fine, dusty black powder. But this is just the medium, plain Jane, and that's what we're going with today.
Okay.
So, I'm going to hand you this cartridge.
Yes.
And you are going to put your mouth around there, your teeth exactly, and just pull it forward. I recommend using side teeth.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Perfect. You can spit that paper out, as Sharpe always says, spit. He's always emphasizing spit. And just fill that pan up with gunpowder. That's right, that divot there, just pour your gunpowder into there. Yeah. Excellent. Bring the weapon down to the left side of your body. Just keep the muzzle up and high. Just keeping your grip here, let go with your right hand. With your right hand. Brilliant. And we'll bring it down.
Oh.
Because we've only set the prime.
Yes.
So I'm going to give this to you in your right hand. Okay. Tip it upside down. Let the powder go all the way to the bottom. And using your finger, just tap that paper down into the, yes, let it in.
Oh, the whole paper?
The whole paper.
Let it in?
That's right. Push it down. Perfect. There we go. Let's pull that ramrod out and turn it upside down. And we're going to push that paper, which historically would have had a musket ball in there, but I'm not trying to make the news. We've just loaded this with paper and gunpowder. So let's pull that out. Excellent. Turn it around and stick it back down the pipes. Spread our legs a little bit, right leg forward, left leg back. We are going to lean forward slightly. I'm going to, you can even aim right at those bushes. Beautiful. Now keep your finger off the trigger for now. I'm going to cock the weapon full, and when I say fire, squeeze that trigger nice and hard. Ready? Fire. Nice and hard, Julie. Nice and hard. Ready? Fire.
Oh! Oh, sorry.
Congratulations, Julie.
I didn't expect such a big bang. Yay!
That was a well done.
Thank
well done
you.
first shot.
Thank you. That was cool. Well, that was a load of fun. I must admit, I was a bit nervous to start with. I was like, no, but I did it and I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for this wonderful place, for allowing me to video. And as I said, if you're in the area, if you're not in the area and you're just coming to visit, please do come and stop by. Thanks. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.